If you need to review Pythagoras and trigonometry, this one's for you. This video is designed to go through all the main parts you need on trigonometry and Pythagoras, two main topics which really confuse students in terms of which one to use, and once you've decided which one to use, what rules are you applying? So let's get started. First things first, trigonometry and Pythagoras can only be carried out in right-angled triangles. So that's the first thing. Are they right-angled triangles? And are you trying to find side lengths? Okay. If so, these can be used. Now, the main differences between trigonometry and Pythagoras. Well, a Pythagoras question only involves the sides. It normally has to involve all the three sides of the triangle. Okay, whereas trigonometry involves two sides and one angle. So if an angle is involved and it's a right angle triangle, when you've got and it's involving two sides and an angle, then it's a trigonometry question. If it involves three sides, it's Pythagoras. Okay, but now let's look at the difference between them. So taking this first question here, we are given a right angle triangle. The question involves two sides. Not given the two sides, but it involves the two sides. We're trying to find x. We know that that side there is 12 and this angle here is 45 degrees. Okay, first things first, identify the hypotenuse, the opposite and the adjacent. The hypotenuse is the longest side, always opposite the right angle. The opposite is the side that is opposite the given angle. If you've got that angle, opposite it would be the x that we're trying to find, and the adjacent is the remaining side, the one that's next to the angle. Okay, writing out your SOHCAHTOA, we can use that to then determine which ratio we're going to use in order to answer this question. Highlight the sides that are involved in the question. We're trying to find the opposite and we've got the adjacent. Which one involves the opposite and the adjacent? It's got to be the tan ratio. TOA. We cover up the side we're trying to find. We're trying to find the opposite. Cover that one up. And it will tell us what we need to do to the other two sides. If they're next to each other, they're being multiplied. So the opposite equals the tan of the angle, in this case 45. Make sure you close your brackets after that in the calculator. And we're timesing it by the adjacent, which is 12. Opposite equals tan 45 times 12. Type that into your calculator to get your answer. And tan 45 is 1. 1 times 12 is 12. Final answer of 12 centimetres. Okay, so the opposite there is 12 centimetres. Okay, going on to this question here then. So this time we're trying to find an angle, so I thought it was worth covering an angle style question. Once again, labelling up your triangle, we have the hypotenuse, we have the opposite and the adjacent there. It's opposite because it's opposite the triangle we're trying to find. Right, once again, using the ratio SOHCAHTOA, we can figure out which one we're going to use. SOHCAHTOA. Our question involves the opposite and the hypotenuse. So the only ratio that involves the opposite and the hypotenuse would be the sine ratio, SO. Cover up the one you're trying to find. We're trying to find the angle. So to find the angle, we have to do the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. The sine of x is equal to the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. The opposite divided by the hypotenuse would be 5 over 8. Remember, when you're trying to find an angle, we do this all the time when we're trying to find an angle, we need to do the inverse sine of it. We don't want to know what the sine of x is, we want to know what x is. So we need to do the inverse sine of the opposite, which is 5, over the hypotenuse, which is 8. Once again in your calculator. Gives you an answer then of 38.68 or 38.7 degrees. Okay, on to these questions here then, question 3 and 4. So these questions here involve three sides and no angles, therefore it's got to be a Pythagoras. Now with Pythagoras, you only really need to identify the hypotenuse. So here's your hypotenuse, and it's the longest side that's opposite the right angle. If you're trying to find the hypotenuse is C. We're using the formula a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We're squaring and adding the numbers together. So a longer side, when you're finding the hypotenuse, we square them and we add them. Now, if you're trying to find a shorter side, like this question here, because the hypotenuse is the 8, you're trying to find a shorter side, we square them and we subtract the numbers. So let's start with 3. I'm going to do 3 squared plus 4 squared, which equals, well, 9 plus 16 is 25. That's c squared, so we need to square root that 25 to find out what the hypotenuse is, which is 5. Finally, this one here then, question 4. This time we're trying to find the shorter side, and for the shorter side we subtract the numbers. A squared plus b squared equals c squared, so if you're trying to find a shorter side, we do c squared subtract b squared. So I'm going to do 8 squared subtract the 5 squared. That gives me 39, and then we need to remember to square root that 39 for the final answer. Square root of 39 gives me, as a decimal, 6.2 centimetres. There we go, that's your key points you need.